Friends, I think what I'd like to do is create something with a little more to do than jump. And that was my motto. We do more than jump. So I started a concept called Urban Jungle Fun Park. And little did I know that there was also a company called Urban Air in Texas. And so after we got started with this concept, we moved to Arizona. We were the first ones there with this new idea of this adventure park. And then we got word that Urban Air was coming our direction. And we were smart enough. I had a good board of advisors. We were smart enough to know that we were not going to do well trying to battle a big company who had already been around for a while. So we switched our name from Urban Jungle to Uptown Jungle. And Uptown Jungle became pretty successful. But to set up a little bit more of this interesting story, my childhood mentor is John Hewish, the guy here on the left side. He and his brother in the 1950s built the first legitimate family entertainment center in the West Coast. And then that company grew and grew. And little did I know in the 70s when I met him that he was going to end up building an empire. And you can see some of the cool things. They had batting cages, golf course. They had water slides, arcade, all of it. Little did I know that this man, who I used to go drive my moped to his house and detail his car, was literally, he and his brother became what are considered the godfathers of the industry. And at IAAPA, about 7 years ago, they won the Lifetime Achievement Award, he and his brother. And the only other two brothers to ever win it were Roy and Walt Disney. So it's kind of cool. I mean, I had no idea what I was exposed to, but I felt a little bit of royalty in my growing up. And so after being around this a little bit, it seemed like a pretty good fit. And then Uptown Jungle basically is an indoor amusement adventure park with all kinds of fun things to do. It's kind of soft play based, a lot of steel, a lot of padded stuff, but we put warrior courses in, dodgeball. It did all kinds of neat double level mezzanine with inflatables. We built an amazing toddler area, which we found that a lot of people in our industry weren't doing toddlers at all, or very little. Let's put it this way. They had a toddler area, and it was about that size. And it was maybe one or two little trampolines and some sofas for mom to sit and watch, right? And that's okay, but I'm thinking there's got to be a lot more that could happen with that. Ironically, in my business, about a third of it, as that business grew, a third of it was in toddler business. Because we were open in the mornings when every other shop was closed, and we were open from 8 a.m. to 1 or till noon, and we didn't realize we were going to make a killing. And when we opened up in Arizona, this is no lie, we said, okay, we're going to follow the one in San Diego. We'll do 2 to 3 mornings a week. When we opened our first day, we had a line around the building, almost 1.5 times around for the toddler program, because there's so many young kids. So we really had a great experience watching this opportunity go, and it went to 5 days a week. And now, when summer kicked in, it was a little different because we couldn't keep the park closed that every day, but it's something to consider. So I only share that with you so you understand that now we're at Park 10. We just opened our biggest location. It's in Sandy, Utah. So we have 6 in Arizona, 2 in Nevada, 1 in California, and 1 in Utah now. And Brad Collins, who spoke earlier today, is our president, is my best friend's son. And Brad, I've known him his whole life and most of my life. Really great graduate from UCSD in management science, just a phenomenal leader. And so it's been really fun to take an idea and grow it, right? But that doesn't come easy. And so today, the discussion we want to have is about marketing. Now, I realize that some of you are probably marketing experts, or you have a pretty good feel of things. So I'm hoping today what we can talk about is some things maybe you haven't thought of. So please, if you've got any thoughts and ideas, I'd love for you to share it. But let's first of all talk about what marketing is. Marketing is it's a discipline that involves all the actions that a company undertakes to draw on customers, right? To bring business in. So it's multiple forms and multiple efforts, right? It doesn't just come easy. That can be done out of the park, right? It's done in the park. It can be done virtually. But my feeling is marketing begins from the moment someone clicks your website or the first phone call they have to your location. What is the experience that they have? Is it positive? Hold on, thank you, we'll be right with you. And then they're on for 3 minutes, hold. Not a good start, right? So it's always about the first impression. So let's keep that in mind, that whatever we do, we always want to make sure that first impression is strong. You know, marketing is one of these things that's, it has so many different angles and flavors to it that, you know, you can have to make a decision as a company owner how and where you want to go with your plan. So the goal here is to develop a marketing plan just like you would do a business plan. It's easy to say, oh, let's just allocate some money. We'll just throw it at it, right? But so let's just say, I remember in one of my parks, I said, I think we could, let's allocate $25,000 for the grand opening marketing for like that whole week and all the things that lead up to it. And so that money was, you know, sounds like a lot of money, but you'd be surprised, it goes pretty quick, right? So do we want to do print? So we found out that the community we were in was very tied into this kind of this local newspaper that everybody read. And so we did put an ad, and to do the ad, they gave us a free article, like a half page for free. You know, that's kind of how they do it. They get your money, and then they do a little article on you. That print article did really well for us because it got a lot of exposure. So something else that's kind of interesting is we decided that we're going to market ourselves to all the moms that were active in the schools. So a week before we opened, we literally brought in moms and their kids, and we did a thing on social media. They had to sign up to win an opportunity to come for a free night of fun and games. So when the mom came in with up to 2 kids, they could bring the kids in. We took them on a tour of our facility, and then we let the kids all play. And all we said is, all we require is that you have your phones out, right? Just make sure you record some of this, put it up on social media. And then when the kids left, we fed everybody pizza, gave them waters, and we gave every child a little shirt with the name on it, right? So then they went out, and next thing we know, we're getting photos of all these. There's Brad right there. We get all these photos with kids wearing the shirt with the logo all over it at the elementary school, and then we had given away little tattoos, the ones you can get wet and stick on your arm. I kid you not. They're like, you wouldn't believe what the kids are doing. They had like plastered all over their head and their cheeks, and it had the grand opening day. So it was kind of a fun little way to kind of get the word out. So as you build your plan, there's some things you want to consider. It's really important that when you consider all the various areas where the money can be allocated, what's going to be the best use of your spend? And so as you do that, you're going to want to define and set your goals, right? Is it we want to get exposure? Nobody even knows we're around, right? Or is it we want to start our marketing with this group set, right? So it might be moms, it might be schools or churches and what have you. So you want to list those things out. Because if you're going to go to schools and if you're going to go to churches, you got to speak their language, right? You got to know what to say when you don't just go, oh, yeah, I'm kind of with this thing, and we were hoping that PTA, and they're like, well, we don't even have PTA anymore. It's not even called that, right? So you got to make sure you're speaking the language. We also found that if you work with churches, what a great thing to do to find somebody on your staff who has church language, right? They can talk about a pastor or the youth group or Bible study or these types of things. And so that when you go in, you can speak the language and say, we'd really like to work with your youth pastors. We want to give a special discount for the kids that are, doing great things. And so keep in mind that part of this is being very deliberate. You got to define it, and then you got to figure out how you're going to measure it. So if you're going to go out and do things, is there a way that at the counter, your point of sale can say, oh, this is how many people came in from this little thing we did. So it's always good to measure. Keep that in mind. And then make it attainable, something that you can accomplish. If you make it too grandiose and it doesn't happen, you're like, man, we didn't hit our goals. That kind of sucks. So it doesn't have to be super grandiose, but remember, to me, the most important marketing is around the grand opening, because I think you can get a lot of buzz around it. But then the rest of the marketing is ongoing. It takes years and time, but you can really begin to be consistent in your messaging as well. So the other part of marketing is also developing your budget. You got to figure out how much you're going to spend. So I talked to you about a bit of a rough idea on what a budget could be, but you'll know what you need to spend. But I will tell you, in my opinion, don't be frugal especially on a grand opening, but then throughout your year, make sure you're allocating money in the right spots. And it does seem like things are shifting, for sure. Print 10 years ago was more valid than it is now, right? Newspapers are almost gone. But there's still nothing like a business card when people come in, flyers they can take with them. So there are some tangible elements that are still very valuable. But keep in mind that you're going to want to develop a budget that covers everything that you're going to want to focus on. And like, for instance, in my opinion, probably the best dollars you can spend is going to be on your internet site, on your website, and through your search engine optimization and through social media. Probably going to be your best spend. Now, keep in mind, though, you may have competitors. And so if you're going to pay to play and you're doing paid advertising with Google, I'll never forget in the first park we had just launched our first website. And I remember we got in the first 6 days, we had 400 new followers. I'm like, wow, this is awesome, all organic. We're doing great. And then we decided we wanted to try a little later on. I don't know, it was a couple of months in, we said, let's try Groupon. And so we wanted, and I know that there's some people who have mixed reactions about Groupon. Well, keep in mind that there's a percentage of those Groupons that never get claimed, and it's pretty substantial. It can be over 40%. So that's one thing to remember, so you don't lose all that. But let me tell you where the value, in my opinion, on Groupon is. You just got to limit and watch the deals you put out. Here's what happens. Kid you not, we went on Groupon, logged in, got the deal up and running, and that's when they had sales reps that would actually come and meet with you. They don't do that anymore. The service is way different. But we launched it, and I kid you not, within 3 days, 25,000 unique views to our website. Now, I had just done homework trying to figure out what it would cost me to get unique viewers from Google, and they said 49 cents per click is what they would charge me to bring a new viewer. Where's the math on that? Anybody want to throw a number out? Yes, yep, 12 grand it would have cost me, right? So now you say, well, what is that worth? That put us on the face of the map a lot faster. Now, whether you want to go with that, that's completely up to you. But, the influencers is another one we'll talk about, because some of that you can get for free, but some of it you may have to pay a little bit. But you might find that that's another great form, bang for the buck. And so you can literally find influencers in your area if you just take a little bit of time. Look up things like, well, in my case, mommy bloggers was one that we used because we cater to younger kids. So there's all these mommy blogger groups. And so I happen to know one that was part of a group. She got the word out, and we had 50 moms show up with all their kids, and we hosted breakfast and these kind of things. Brad has now gone on, and he's really catapulted these concepts of tapping into these things, which can really be beneficial as you grow your business, to realize that if you really want to get seen, there are a lot of people out there that are hankering and desiring to come into your place. I remember Brad said to me, Bob, you wouldn't believe it. This one guy came in at our store in Vegas, and he had a cameraman and a sound guy following him everywhere. And, it's like, for what? And he's showing the events around Vegas. So that was a big deal to him. Let's talk a little bit about branding. Branding is really what it says it is. They brand the cattle. The Egyptians 2,500 years ago were branding cattle, and unfortunately, they eventually started branding their slaves, so everybody knew who they belonged to, right? It's kind of a brutal concept, but that's where the name comes from. So how do we sear? How do I get that brand into your arm? Yeah, right there. Thank you. How do we get that into you where it's like, I'm branded with this company because I'm a brand ambassador. I like what they're about. This is a company I can relate to. So think about some of the brands you love right now: clothing, lifestyle, vehicles, machinery, guns, electronics. You have your brands that you like. And why is that, Bill? It's because you've had a good experience with it. So to give you a little idea, let's talk about what a part of a brand is. And I know you know this already. We have a logo, right? We all have logos. But, got to remember, the color matters. The shape, the style. Don't make it too complex. Don't make it hard to read when it's on a card. That's probably the best thing you can remember. If you can hardly read it when it's on a business card, do not use that logo, because it really just doesn't translate well. And so also iconography, right? That might little kids jumping in the air or whatever. You got to find an icon that works well for your business. And this just gives you an idea of some of the industry brands that are out there. You can see a lot of primary colors, a lot of explosive look and feel, has the design of the outlines around them. Some of them look almost like cartoon characters. So these things are important. Remember, we're conveying fun. And recently, I was interviewing somebody. We were doing a podcast, and we're kind of agreeing that, I have a client. I built these beautiful adventure parks called Airtopia. And when I go to the parks, when I'm there, their audience is like 13 and under. It's packed with younger kids. So, a sophisticated logo may not appeal so much to the younger audience. But at the end of the day, the one that really matters is the mom and dad. They're the ones bringing them to your place, right? So it's got to be fun. So that's all part of just remembering how important it is to build a good brand. So now I have a question for you. I want you to think about something that many of you partake of daily. Anybody have an idea what it is? Okay, so if I show you these brands up on here, now I realize that you may have a local brand that's not up here. But in all the years I've spoke on branding and messaging, it seems like coffee is always a good one because everybody has their own experience with coffee, right? Someone once told me, I love the 7-Eleven coffee. And I actually had their logo up there, but I took it down because I figured it may not be everywhere. Just like AM, PM's not everywhere, and you guys have all your gas station brands. But everybody's gone after the coffee market, right? Because there's profit in it. But what makes a good brand? I'm going to ask you guys a question. So out of all of these brands, or the ones that you like, let's say Starbucks, I want to know, why do you like a brand? So did any of those brands appeal to any of you? Raise your hand if you wouldn't mind. Yes. Which one? Okay. McCafe. Yeah. Now that's funny because I don't drink coffee, but I heard it's really good. I mean, it is McDonald's after all, and if they set their sights on something, they're going to do a good job, right? Who would have thought that McDonald's could compete with a Starbucks? The most expensive coffee in the world is being served in a cafe that overlooks the Vatican in Italy. $25 for a cup of coffee, right? And it's very bitter, very strong, but that's what you pay for the view, right? It's the best coffee in the world, I guess. So these are things to think about. Why do we like things? It's because we have good experiences with it. You go to a drugstore. Do you like Rite Aid? Do you like CVS? Do you like Walgreens? Some people say, I can't stand that brand. Every time I go in there, it's dirty, it's dingy. Well, that might be your personal experience with that dingy store, but it doesn't mean all of them are like that. But we become brand ambassadors and believers in brands based on our experiences we have with the brand, right? So keep in mind, you could have the best logo, the coolest park, and if people walk in and feel neglected and unappreciated and all those things, then they're like, it's a nice place, but their people aren't that great. I'm really proud of what Brad has done, and I often say, in Uptown Jungle, our greatest attraction are our people. It's the people. That's why hiring right is so important. I just did a podcast today with Cheryl, and we talked about the importance of taking time. Yeah, you want to do a hiring fair, you want to have everybody hired that weekend, but if you don't get the right people, have another one, right? You got to hire right because they really represent you. Remember, they are part of your brand. Now, let's talk about the competitive landscape. What is it like when you got your place going and then you find out there's another place down the street? I remember it was opposite for me. When I wanted to build the first place, I was doing my homework and found out that there were other competing brands kind of farther away, but there was a Sky Zone that had opened about 30 miles away. There was another place that a guy had opened up with high ropes courses, and I actually went to that park and experienced it because I wanted to see what it was like, right? But it's really important that you understand and know your competition. And you can admire your competition. There's nothing wrong with admiring. And in fact, I suggest, please, there's no benefit in speaking ill will about your competitors. It doesn't do you any good. Just talk about what you do best, right? Because if you know their strengths and their weaknesses, then you'll know where to capitalize. So let's just say somebody has an FBC down the way and they have really good food. It's something you really want to do better. But you have better bowling and you have better arcade or you have go-karts and so forth. You can admire what they have, right? But you can find out what you can do better. And so the goal here is to then just capitalize on the things that you can say you do better. We have better service. We have better attractions. It's, our hours, we're open longer than everybody else. So you can find out what makes yourself better and different and capitalize on that. But again, I'm a big proponent that there is no benefit to speak ill will of our competitors, even if they suck. It really doesn't do you any good. Just say, yeah, well, they have their business. We're just a little different. There's really no need to get into all that. So with that in mind, the question is, who are your brand ambassadors? Who are the people that have that brand on them that everywhere they go, I love this place, right? Kind of like a restaurant. If you find a really good restaurant, I've never been an Italian lover, but there's literally amazing, it's all run by a big Italian family restaurant a mile from my house. And I have become such a big fan of their food because it's so extraordinarily delicious, right? So now I'm a brand ambassador for this restaurant in a cuisine that I don't really, it's not that I don't like Italian, I just always like to eat a little different. I like a little more on the fish and chicken side or whatever, right? And so these are things to consider. You've got to figure out who are your brand ambassadors and can you capitalize on who they are. If you know who some of your regulars are and they're really loyal, you got to take time to thank them. Give them something. What if you had geolocation on your phones, on your POS, that when they arrived in your parking lot, it said, oh, Tammy Smith is here. She's here with her 2 boys, and every time she comes, she gets a Diet Coke. She's been here 8 times. What if your system would say, hey, Tammy, glad you're here. Hope the kids are going to have fun. Your Diet Coke today is on us. Thanks for coming, right? You imagine what that would mean to somebody? Like, wait, first of all, it'd be like, well, how do they know? That'd be kind of scary. But then when they get in there, they'd be like, this is really cool. They're taking care of me. They appreciate me, right? And that Diet Coke costs, especially if you're pouring it from a fountain, costs you almost nothing, right? So let's talk also a little bit about an element that many people, if you're not in advertising, may not know the term. And it's an important one. The term is the audience persona, right? It's to understand who the makeup is of the individuals that come into your park. Male, female, children, elderly, whatever it's going to be. But really key down on who you think your core audience is. And ideally what you want to do is come up with 3 personas. So you have a good makeup of who you think come to your park. Mine would definitely be kids. It would probably be a 10 to 11-year-old like my key, but really it's going to be mom, and then probably somebody else in that cycle there, right? So I'll figure out who my core people are, but let me share with you an example. So in this case, you want to understand a little bit about who they are, their gender, their interests, where they live kind of matters, because you can know how far you got to do your marketing to pull them in, and even all the digital stuff that's being done, you can go out to other areas. And having an idea how big their family is, their income matters. Now, we found something a little interesting. Income is great, but it really, some of our best parks are in some of our more less affluent areas. And because the people that go there, they know how to party. When they when they come, they want to spend money and enjoy their weekend. So Jenna, in this case, we're just going to use her as an example. 32 years old. She's a working mom, right? She raises 2 kids. She's got an 11-year-old daughter, a 9-year-old son. She's a bargain shopper. She likes deals. I do. I go into a restaurant. If I see $1 off if you download our app, I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. Scan that. I'm like, oh, I really shouldn't be doing this, but I'll do it for the $1 off, right? So there's people like that out there. She and her husband make a dual income, close to $200,000. They live in a nice neighborhood, and they enjoy going out on the weekend with their kids. That's part of their whole thing. So understanding who Jenna and Tommy and all the different people that are part of your brand, are part of your persona, customer persona, is important to understand. Because now you'll know, again, how to speak to them, speak their language, talk to them. Because our ads are not generally made for kids, right? And neither should yours unless your kids can walk through your park and not need mom and dad to get there. So just keep that in mind. Another part of good marketing is also understanding the importance of constant amounts of content, right? The content should be in all forms. It could be, digital imagery, JPEGs and still imagery, video is still the number one winner, and that's why YouTube continues to grow. Build a YouTube channel that you can put all your stuff onto. Keep that growing, because then you can suck all your stuff from the YouTube channel, which just builds your viewership, and it just creates more and more goodwill and what they call like mojo, or there's another term that Google uses, juice was another term a guy used, that the search engines really like you when you're contributing. So think about this. The internet is a bunch of spiders, they call it, and they're scanning the web in real time. Millions and billions of spiders scanning. And the minute you post something about what you do, it goes, oh, they're putting content on. We like this company because they're putting stuff onto our web. Where if all you do is just wait for people to come to you, you're going to not be as high in the ranking. So you want to feed that machine, just like you want to do with social media. I'm going to show you something interesting. So we did this literally earlier today. I did a screen grab of this. Now, we wanted to take a local venue here in this area and use ChatGPT AI and say, write me a 15-second radio commercial. What you're watching is in real time how quickly ChatGPT created this commercial. It not only created the words, it said, here's the sound effect, here's the music. It did all that for me for free. In real time. That took, Kevin, how long did it take you to do it? Because I was too busy. Okay. Whew. Yeah, and he's a PR guy. I could have paid him a lot more money. That was cheap, right? So the point I'm getting at is these are tools you can use right now. You can literally say, hey, help me understand this. Now keep in mind, AI is only as good as the content that's available on the web, right? It cannot just make random stuff up about a park that has no information. But if a brand's been around a long time, it can gather a lot of data on them and write this about them. Now, you could also say, help me write an ad for a brand new concept of an adventure park or a laser tag, and it will give you something. And I would say it will take you 80% there. And then you'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense. Sometimes it has weird things it says, but you can just erase that and continue on. And then what I'll take the 80%, I'll add to it, I'll repolish it, I'll submit it and say, take these 150 words, condense it down to 100 words if I want to get down to something shorter. And it's an amazingly powerful tool. If you haven't used ChatGPT yet, I highly recommend that you check it out because it is very fun to watch in real time. Let's talk about finding your influencers. So, there are many different groups out there that, and I'd say individuals, families, who make their living as an influencer, right? They get free stuff. We're probably most familiar with things we see on Instagram, TikTok, because they're wearing the stuff they got or they're showing the new whatever the gadget they got. And that's a way that they get free stuff as an influencer because they have the followers. But there are influencers that are in our industry or that would love to have exposure to what we do in family entertainment and have an opportunity to capitalize on their clout in our locations, okay? And so this was a long time ago. I want to show you, well, first of all, I'm going to ask you a quick question. What would be some of the things that you think you could do by using the power of an influencer? What kind of things do you think you could use them to your benefit? Any suggestions? I don't know if I asked that question right. Maybe I ask it again. If an influencer came to your place, what would you hope that they could accomplish for you? Say that again.
Bring in new guests.
Bring in guests? Yeah, I mean, they'd be like, so-and-so's coming, you better come, right? And then everybody comes to come see them, get pictures with them. That's definitely one way. How else? Huh? Yes. Do a trade out on a birthday party? Yep. Anything else? I'm sorry. Yes. Because if they're really good at what they do, they always make sure the places they go get coverage. Does anybody know who Blippi is? So I built a park for a client called Candyland. Candeeland. It's up in the LA basin. And he called me one day. He's like, Bob, you're never going to believe it. I go, what? He goes, I got the call from the Blippi people. I'm like, who's Blippi? I had no idea. Brad told me later when the Uptown got called to do Blippi, but I had no idea who he was. Millions of followers, right? And so Blippi came out and said, I want to do these little segments in your park. And all of a sudden now Candyland is on the map with millions of views. And guess what? Didn't have to pay anything for that, right? Nothing. They actually love it when you have these beautiful indoor parks like some of these out there that have all the color and all the things. And they could turn it into a playground of education. It's quite funny to see what they do with some of these venues. So some of the things we talked about, you could provide free visits, right? Come into our park, and you know they're going to document it because remember, they make money on the viewership of the YouTube channel that they post on. If they don't get those viewers, so some of the influencer groups that we've met, they have to post 3 separate independent videos every day. It's like a full-time job, and they don't do it. They shoot themselves, and then they upload it to an editor who sits in a place and edits all night and posts. And so keep in mind that there is a whole world out there, and don't say, oh, I don't understand it. You need to understand it. This is where it's going, right? So give you an example. We had one family here that they came to our park, and it was like, I think, 4.2 million views of this one video, the one trip to our park. Here is another one. They have over 5 million subscribers, had over 2 million views. And then I want to just show you this little clip because I think it's kind of fun to see how this works. Oh, I don't know if I can get my audio. Well, let me see if I can turn it up here. The audio, I didn't set that up for my, here, I'll just let it play and then, whoops, okay. Oh, come on, go back. All right, go like this. Super cute little family, right? I mean, doesn't get any cuter than that. So, they're highlighting the park, showing everything, and then what Brad and the team did is they put on an amazing birthday party, and they documented the whole thing. The whole thing was documented and posted. And all of a sudden, people are like, wow, this place is cool. And I don't remember the exact specifics on that, Brad, but when that family showed up, didn't some people come to see them as well, kind of like movie stars were arriving? Yeah. And, sometimes they don't want you to promote that they're there. They want to kind of come and just enjoy the space. So these are just things to be aware of. The other thing that you can consider thinking about is the element that Kevin's going to talk about later. It's really the misunderstood aspect of marketing, which is public relations. So you hear that term, it sounds kind of boring. Sorry, Kevin. It's just public relations. But in reality, what their job is to go out and is build relations with various public outlets, right? The news, media, different publications, people who are going to find something interesting about what you have going on. And as Kevin said, it's called earned media, which is a good term. You kind of earn this through your story. But if it's done well, people will find it interesting, right? So let's say you're doing something during the holidays and you're going to do a special, like, a fundraiser for kids, or during Thanksgiving, you're going to do a big thing where you're going to try to fill up, a container filled with canned goods to feed, 10,000 people or whatever it might be. These are the kind of things people love to see and hear about. In this case, what happened in this situation is we had a reporter come out and let's see if I can, I don't know if that'll play or not. Let's see. We had a reporter come out from Fox News, and we basically sent a one-page PR press release out. And Fox said, oh, we'd love to come do the story. They did it in San Diego, but then we did it in Arizona. And the morning reporter who goes out on the road, most stations have these kind of guys that are like, it's the roaming reporter, that kind of thing. He came out and he did 3 live segments that lasted anywhere between 4 to 6 minutes each segment. And that was between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. So these are the kind of things that if you pull it off right, you're getting all this amazing free exposure. So he literally toured the park. That's the news people talking about his tour, because he's bantering back and forth, and they're going, this looks amazing, John. So keep in mind that if you do this well, you can get a lot of free exposure by writing a simple press release. Kevin's going to talk about that next. It's literally one page. It's just the highlights of the things that you want to offer. And I'll let him chat. I don't want to give too much away, but if you'll imagine a press release is like this. There's someone who needs stuff to publish. Every news channel needs things to put up on the air. They like happy stuff, by the way. They like good, happy family stuff. They don't want to turn it away if they don't have to. But in that first line of that press release, it needs to say something spectacular, that you're going to read and go, he's going to be reading all these things. Now it's not paper, it's digital. Headline. Ooh, that looks fun. Company's going to do this, This many kids are going to jump and bounce for a fundraiser, whatever it might be, right? So hopefully this gives you some ideas to think about as you contemplate your whole marketing plan, that there is more than just throwing money at everything, right? Use your brain, use your intelligence, study what other people are doing to expand their marketing efforts and build their business without having to throw a lot of dollars at it. There is a time and place for all that. But the smarter you can be, the better you can be with all this. So, are there any questions about anything we've discussed so far? Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that you are all here today. And how many are venue owners, by the way? Like you are owners, or you work for a venue that's marketing? Okay, good. How many are looking at getting in it for the first time? Buddy, kind of a little bit of a newbie? No. Okay. So it's one of my passions also, is to try to help people who are new, because when I got in there, I didn't know anything. I literally knew nothing and had to learn over time and effort. So I'm kind of on a personal mission to also help educate people, keep them informed. I think it would be healthy that we as a culture in this group of IATP members, that we do what we can to support those that are coming in by helping with best practice. Maybe we don't give away trade secrets. We don't want to do that, right? Things that make you really special, you don't want to give that away. But the general things that can help, quality, safety, all these types of things, let's keep that rolling. Because I think, I want to finish with one last thought. And I've thought about this a lot. You think about this business that we're in, it's phenomenal. First of all, we do something really unique. We provide a place where children and young kids are literally able to take this thing that is glued to their hands and throw it, right? They are willing to set it aside because there's something better than the phone for a while. How odd is that? I mean, outside of video games, is there anything else that you could think of? Maybe school and church. Yeah, they would like that, right? And so then they get this time to go and exercise. So we're giving them a full body workout, right? Using all the core muscles at playtime. But then there's some other things that happen. We bring families together, right? And today's families are different. The nuclear family is, still around, but whatever that family looks like. It's a mom and her kids, it's grandma and the grandchildren coming in. Could be neighbors coming with the kids down the street, right? But that's still a form of family. What a beautiful situation we are in to greet families on a daily basis. What would be another one? What would be another gift that we have in this industry? Anything else? Say it again.
A place for our children, not on the street.
Safe place, right? A safe place to play. I agree. Because once they're in, they're protected, they're in a good place to be. Here's some other things to think about. We're also a place of celebration, right? We're the place people go to party. We're the place where adults are saying, I want to create a lifetime memory for my child at this place and all of their friends. And then lastly, what I love the most is when I think back of my favorite place, and I did this podcast the last couple of days, I asked every single person, what was the one place you went to or the experience you had as a kid that you remember vividly that was one of your favorite places to go? Mine was at the La Mesa pool. I lived in La Mesa, California. It's a pool built in the mid-40s, had this Art Deco design. And it was kind of old school, but we loved it. And we go on the high dive, the low dive, get in so much trouble with every time we'd come in, my buddies and I, the lifeguards were like, you got to be good today, you got to be good. Because we'd be doing cannonballs and, some of the things we weren't supposed to. But we loved that pool. You could get like a handful of licorice for like $5 or 5 cents, You could like snack on that. My mom would give me 50 cents for the day and a sandwich. So where was your place? your place of refuge, your place that you still remember. That was the place you loved going. If we keep that in the back of our minds, that we're creating places that children are going to love to come to, parents are going to want to be there, and that one day when they're adults, they're going to say, you know what? I had some of my best experience in my life at this place, that place, right? So that's what we're all about. So I salute you for being here today because you're serious about the business of fun. And I think that the more we can collaborate together, support one another, we can continue to build a great industry that will continue to keep families together, people safe and happy, healthy, and all those good things. So thanks for coming today.